Welcome to our 9th grade parent coffee. My name is Elaine Schwartz. I'm Director of Guidance, and I would like to begin by introducing our fantastic principal, Mr. John Dodig, who'd like to say a few words.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. I'm stuck behind this lectern because it's being recorded. That's the only way you can hear me. I hate it though. I know some of you here have seniors this year. Some of you have had seniors before. And so not all of you have freshmen for the first time. But raise your hand if you do have a freshman for the first time. And, oh, look at you. Newbies. How did your little baby get this big? It's shocking. The other shocking thing is when you walk in the building, don't expect him or her to come running up to you and say, "Mommy, I'm so happy to see you," because they're not. It's just different. But they still need you to love them, and they still need you to say no. You have my permission to say no, even when they say something like, "But everybody is going to a concert tonight, Tuesday night." If you don't think it's right, the answer is no. Mr. Dodig said I can say no. But anyway, I'm here to welcome you, and it's a journey, it's a 4-year journey. And having been here now for 10 years, I can tell you without any doubt that you're in good hands. You meet all the guidance counselors, or school counselors. Guidance counselor is an old term. And the department chairmen, so you'll know something about the services that we offer. But really, as far as the guidance department is concerned, you're really going to be held by the hand and walked through every step of the way. Starting with the freshman year, the introduction to high school, all the way to how do I get into college, what do I do? Have every faith in your child's counselor. Develop communication with them, email, talk to them if you have a question. They're always willing to answer any question you have. I hope the transition to high school so far has been good, that your daughter, your son is happy at least, and that's our goal. All kids would be happy here. And if not, you need to let us know that too. So I have to go to another meeting. Thanks again for coming. Enjoy.
Next, another very important person in your life and in your children's lives is Mr. Pat Missinilio, the assistant principal for 9th grade.
I don't really need the microphone. I taught freshmen for years, so I don't need a microphone. I know how to amplify my voice. Two things for you. Number one, I too have a freshman in high school this year, so I am going through the joys and the pains with you, okay? So I feel for all of you. My son's transition to high school has been a smooth one so far, and as John just said, I hope your children have had a smooth transition. The second thing that I wanted to say is it's not a horrible thing to come down to the assistant principal's office. We try to get to know our kids on a personal level here, and some of your children received an email from my secretary yesterday, I believe, or maybe the day before, inviting them to come down to hang out with the assistant principal during period 2 next week. They are not in trouble. Okay? I just want you to understand that they are not in trouble. I see some confused looks by kids that, why does he know my name? Why is he bringing me down to the office? It is not for anything bad. So don't think of the assistant principal's office as a negative room. Okay? And lastly, what I wanted to say is, if you have to prearrange an absence, the person to introduce yourself to before you leave this building is right over here to my right, Mrs. Hitchcock. She works hand in hand with me. She's an attendance paraprofessional and a mother to many of the kids while they're here at school. So she's definitely a person that you want to get to know. And my office door is always open for you. So swing on by after this is over if you need to ask me anything or throw any ideas off of me, and you can always give me a call. Thanks and good luck. I too have to go to the meeting with John.
You also saw a young lady, probably, who helped you out this morning and gave out some of the materials we were giving you. She is one of our student ambassadors. I want to thank her, and she will be here to talk to you a little bit about her life in this high school a little bit later. I want to thank Jim Honeycutt, who's filming this, so if anybody has not seen it or would like to, he's actually going to be able to get this on YouTube for all of us, so that's pretty cool. We're excited about being on YouTube. We'll see how many people actually tune into us. And before we begin our program with our counselors this morning, I would like to introduce you to some absolutely wonderful department chairs. These are people who are working behind the scenes for your kids all the time. I can't tell you how many times we consult with them, the teachers are consulting with them, and they're just absolutely fantastic to work with and just thinking about your kids all the time. So let me tell you who they are, and then they are going to get up also and give you some information about their disciplines. So to begin, Julie Heller, who is Department Chair of English grades 6 through 12. AJ Sheets, who's Department Chair of Science grades 6 through 12. James D'Amico, Department Chair of Social Studies, grades 6 through 12. Maria Zachary, Department Chair of World Language, grades K through 12. And Frank Corbo, Department Chair of Math, grades 6 through 12. And they're going to come up and give you a little information now.
Hi, good morning, welcome. My name is Julie Heller. As Elaine just said, I'm the Department Chair for English. Your student, your child will be taking English all 4 years while at Staples High School, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of the main differences from their experiences at the middle school. First, in terms of reading, you may have noticed that some of the reading experiences that your student, your child will be having are a little bit more complex and difficult. How many of your students are reading the Odyssey right now? Right, so they're probably knee-deep in that and finding it a little bit more challenging than some of the things they may have read at middle school. Some of the things that you can do at home to help your child, first, in order to kind of encourage them to stick with it, to build their stamina with reading. Really talk to your child about what they're reading, encourage them to be active readers, jot down notes. If your child is a visual learner, you can encourage them to do a quick sketch. The Odyssey is a great piece of literature for that, sketching what they think they read or having an idea of what they experienced in that text. Having that conversation at the dinner table. If you read how many of you read it yourself, the Odyssey, when you were reading Christ? It just doesn't go away, does it? It's just one of those long-lasting pieces. So you can certainly harken back to that time in your life and share your experience with them, and just kind of connecting with them, encouraging them to stick with it, to persevere. And most importantly, I think, to really have some undistracted reading time. So they will most likely, if they haven't already, convince you or try to convince you that they can listen to their music and read at the same time. And that's fine for beach reading, but it's not going to cut it for the Odyssey. So really encourage them to take off those headphones, give it a good 20, 25 minutes at a shot, and then talk to you about it a little bit before they move on to other activities. The other main difference is the writing. So students will be asked to go through the entire writing process many times during their experiences at Staples High School. That means that they're going to be asked to revise their work. Revision is not the same as editing. So if they come to you with, I did revise, I just spent the past 10 minutes, and they probably cleaned up some typos or fixed their grammar, but they did not rewrite it. Kids hate rewriting because they think once they put it on a piece of paper, it's done. Encourage them to go back and think about that writing again. And most importantly, to schedule those writing conferences with their teachers. The teachers are there, they're before school, they're there after, all during the day, and they have ample time to work with your individual student in terms of their writing needs and helping them to progress in that area. So those are the two big differences. You might have also heard people talking about the Common Core state standards. We definitely are revising our curriculum to more closely align with those standards. However, I just want to reassure you that does not mean that we are no longer reading literature in the English classroom. I can assure you it's alive and well and kicking, and we're doing everything we can to support that. So if you have any questions, you're always welcome to call me or email me, but I would encourage you to call or email your English teacher first. And I'm going to turn it over to our social studies chair. Thank you very much.
I'm James D'Amico, the Department Chair for Social Studies. We are going out of order from your slides. I'm not Frank. He's been here way longer than I have. I just want to follow up really on what Julie was talking about. You know, especially, and I'll start with the correlation to Common Core. You've all met the most important person in your student social studies class already, which is their teacher on back to school night. And so if you ever have any questions about what's going on in the class, topics the students are covering, what they're reading, we always encourage you to talk to the teacher first, because they know what's going on, especially in global themes, because the way our course is structured is that we have common skills and common skill assessments throughout the year, but the teachers working with their students and also in their own passion in terms of history or different regions might cover slightly different topics. So that's why it's really important to get to know your student's global themes teacher. And to follow up on that with those common assessments, as Julie said, with the shift to the Common Core, one of the misperceptions out there is that there's no more literature in English. There still is lots of literature in English, and in social studies, part of our job with Common Core is to help fill in the gaps with that informational text, that traditionally nonfiction text. And so what we're working on as a department is making sure that as part of our instruction, we're not just assigning reading, but we're also helping students learn how to approach reading, how to approach different types of nonfiction text. That's an important part of the social studies classroom. One of the biggest adjustments that the teachers find from year to year for freshmen coming out of middle school is the amount of independence that's required in high school social studies. In middle school, everybody's on a team, and the social studies teacher and the language arts teacher are almost always working together. They're using the same text, they're parallel texts, and that sort of thing. In any given high school class, the 25 students in the class probably have 6 or 7 different English teachers. So that's just not something that we necessarily can do all the time at the high school. So one of the most important resources that we have is the Learning Center. And so on back to school night, when you were up on the 2nd floor, there's the L corner of the building. Every period of the day in the Social Studies and English Learning Center, there's a social studies teacher and an English teacher there. Whether it's a lunch period, whether your student has a free period or not, there's always somebody there. So if they're working on a piece of writing in either subject, or they need to make up some work in that subject, the Learning Center is always available to them. So we found that students love working there. It is a quiet reading space for them as well. So if they, if there's something they need to do during school, they're always welcome to come to the Learning Center. In terms of the type of writing you'll see in social studies, for those of you that have had students go through our program before, our writing program used to be centered on really one major essay per quarter. And in 8th grade, you probably noticed that was, about the writing structure for social studies as well. Again, with the Common Core requiring a lot of different skills and more skills than we had anchored into the curriculum before, what you'll probably be seeing are more short in-class writing assignments, and really more of a diagnostic approach in social studies. As we learn the standards and we get comfortable with them, we really want to see where students are and take snapshots of their progress throughout the year. So that's a change that some of you will see as well. And really, the last thing that I want to just talk to you about is, social studies is, a subject in which this year, no matter what level of class your student is in, whether they're in the honors, the A, or the B level section, if they demonstrate throughout the year that they love the subject matter, that they excel, and that they're able to achieve at a high level, much like, many of our other departments, we don't track. So just because your student is in A-level global themes this year doesn't mean they can't ever take an advanced course or pursue a passion in the social studies. We really make those decisions on a year-to-year basis, and it's something that your student and their teacher will be talking about as the year goes on. As with everybody else, if you have any questions, you have all of our email addresses are always available, phone number, and please feel free to contact us. And now, Frank.
One of the things James said reminded me that yes, I've been here since the New Stone Age. And during that time, this is my 49th year as an educator, so I almost have been here since the New Stone Age. And I've seen a lot of changes. I go back to when there was no calculator. But anyway, that wasn't really going to be part of my presentation. That's another story. So we've seen lots of changes. I mean, I remember when math was all about learning how to do things. There were 25 different equations that you had to learn how to solve. Each of them was a different set of procedures involved. And that was what math was all about. And we moved from that so that now We still want procedural fluency. We still want kids to be able to do things. But we want them to understand what they're doing, and we want them to be able to apply what they're doing to problem solving. The be-all and the end-all now is problem solving. We want kids to be able to take the math skills and use them. So how are we teaching kids to be, problem solvers? Well, the first thing we did was we revised our curriculum to make it more focused and coherent. Focused on the big ideas of math, and coherent so that everything flows, as opposed to what it used to be, which was a series of disconnected skills and procedures. Our curriculum is no longer a mile wide and an inch deep. There's real depth to our curriculum. We emphasize problem solving, and problem solving now means a little bit, it's a little different than what you used to think of as a math problem. In the old days, a math problem was problem number 35 that came after 34 manipulations and exercises, and everybody knew that 35 was just the same thing, but now it's in words instead of just, solve or simplify. Right now we're looking at giving kids experience. We don't think, if you already know how to solve it, it's not a problem, okay? So that just seems to be common sense. So if you want kids to become better problem solvers, you have to give them more problems, real problems. And that means you have to give them problems like in the real world, where they don't have all the information, where the first thing they have to answer is, what do I need to know in order to even begin thinking about this problem? Problems with no numbers in them. Where am I going to go to find that information? We give them non-routine problems, we give them ill-defined problems. That's how problems happen in the real world. So can you flip on, so if you take a look, also I saved myself a minute because everything that James said about the Learning Center applies to the Math Science Learning Center, except it's math and science. That's our program. It is an incredibly rich program, one that you're not likely to see in any other school, public school probably in the country. Kids can take courses all the way up to multivariable calculus. There are far more arrows that should be there, but it would just make the thing illegible. Kids can move up and down. Our goal is to place kids appropriately. Appropriately means that they need to be challenged and successful. And we don't have any problem moving kids up or down when it's the right thing to do, when we see that kids are not at the right place. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to say was that we've, as of yesterday afternoon, collaborative team approved 2 new courses that you'll see on the far. You won't see them on that because that's this year's flow chart. But there are 2 new courses, one called Differential Equations. Yes, indeed, we have kids who finish multivariable calculus and they're still juniors. And so starting next year, we're going to be offering a further math class, a more advanced math class called Differential Equations. And the other course that we're offering is Financial Decision Making in the Digital Age. And that would be an advanced version of our literacy course, our financial literacy course. Kids are going to be investing, and maybe I'll turn some of my money over to them and see what they can do. Any questions? Call. Ditto what everybody else has said about that. I'd be happy to talk to you about our program. And next up is Maria Zachary, who's going to speak to you in Mandarin.
Ni hao. That's all I have for you in Mandarin. It's always very difficult to follow my colleagues and then to have to go right before Dr. Sheets. They are so articulate, and I have to remind you, English is my 3rd language, so bear with me. So I have a little bit of fun. Our department is a very passionate department. We're very passionate about what we do, so I have a little bit of a talk this morning to help you feel some of that joy that we feel down in the world languages way. Did you know that the Romans invented concrete, aqueducts, and the highway system, complete with traffic jams? Are you aware that a submarine in Buenos Aires, Argentina is actually a hot glass of milk with a chocolate bar in it? Have you ever learned that the Chinese invented paper, the compass, and fireworks? Well, if you were enrolled in a 9th grade world language class here at Staples High School, you would learn all of these fun and interesting cultural facts. But our World Languages program does not just introduce our students to culture. It also teaches students how to communicate, it fosters connections, it teaches students to compare and contrast, and enables the building of communities. Our students may choose to study Chinese, Latin, Italian, Spanish, French, and/or German, but they will all find themselves in classes taught by experienced native and non-native speakers who bring their knowledge of the language and passion for grammar, yes, I said passion for grammar, history, literature, and culture to the classroom. They bring language to life by exposing the students to real-world 21st century situations, even in Latin classes on Conversational Fridays. The teachers use a variety of strategies and techniques designed to address different learning styles, all in an effort to build proficiency and foster communication skills. My department members work collaboratively to create the perfect blend of academic rigor and motivation building, confidence boosting experiences with the target language in what is always an interactive, engaging, and supportive classroom environment. Our world language students learn to think critically, creatively, and globally while communicating in Italian, Spanish, German, Chinese, French, or Latin. I have a few nuggets from some of the students. I interviewed a couple of kids this week to find out why they chose to study a world language. So these are some of their reasons. People think that you're very smart and clever. It's much easier to get a haircut in a foreign country and get it done exactly the way you want it done when you can speak to them in their own language. You can read literature the way it was meant to be read in its native tongue. You can more easily access foreign business culture and get a better price or make a better business deal. Now they're getting serious. And you may have many more job opportunities both at home and abroad when you can speak to people in a language that they understand. So our goal is that your child will learn how, when, and why to say what to whom. It's part of our program. So please contact me if you have any questions about our program. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming today. I'm A.J. Sheets, I'm the Science Department Chair. Since we're at Freshman Parent Coffee, I'm assuming that if not all of your children, a majority of your children are taking biology this year. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the biology curriculum and how we try to structure it so that students leave our classes knowing or having a good understanding of the rapidly changing world that is biology. So for students in physics or in chemistry, they're learning material that was first developed, understood, in some cases hundreds of years ago. However, biology is a different animal in the sense that as quickly as we can, as publishers can write new textbooks, they're having to add additional information. The pace of discovery in the biological sciences is astounding. And it creates a problem for us in terms of how we give our students a sense of what biology is and at the same time the pace at which we're gaining knowledge. We're aware of this. The country's aware of this, the world's aware of this, the advanced placement biology folks are aware of this, and you may or may not know this, but last year was the first year of a new AP biology class, and the attempt there was to focus not so much on knowing facts and understanding, cladograms or being able to memorize how a particular plant species is identified, but more in terms of the themes that thread through biology. And we've taken that approach in our freshman biology classes this year. So many of your children, all of your children at this point have probably done a laboratory experiment using either brine shrimp, otherwise known as sea monkeys, or in some cases, mosquito larvae. They're growing those organisms and doing experiments that they have developed themselves to try to understand some of the properties that influence the growth and development of those organisms. And the reason why we're doing this is because we are trying to reinforce the understanding that there are several themes that run through biology. Our hope is that by getting a good understanding of those themes, students will be able to access the factual information and see how it fits together, which is the most important piece of understanding biology. So the students will be doing, your children will be doing these labs, and then later on in the year, we'll be doing a major project that reinforces our understanding, based on the results of these labs, our understanding of 6 major themes that run through biology. And so, as another around the table conversation might involve how are those mosquitoes growing, or how are those sea monkeys going, and can you tell me a little bit about how what you're seeing with that demonstrates the principle that biological organisms have internal and external forms of regulation, or how the energy in their closed systems is circulated and transformed. So those are just some general ideas about how our biology curriculum and your child's first year experience in science is structured, and the intent that we have underlying that structure. Again, I want to echo many of my colleagues' comments. Please contact your child's biology teacher, science teacher, if you have questions. And they know your child. They want to get to know them better. When you talk to them, they get a better understanding of where your son or daughter is coming from, and can adapt, adjust, and organize how they deal with your child more appropriately. Again, if you have general questions about how we do things, what comes next, those sorts of things, again, the teacher is the first source, but if you have additional questions or ideas, questions, comments, please call me. I'm available via email or via phone. And I look forward to having your son or daughter have a great 4 years here at Staples in science and all the other disciplines that we offer. Thank you very much.
You're going to know so much about what's going on in all your kids' classes now, they're going to be amazed. Like, how did you know this? So anyway, now I'd like to introduce you to our dream team, our outstanding guidance department, and they will be getting to know you and your children very well in these next 4 years. So we'll start with Tom Brown.
Hi, Tom Brown.
Christine Tellerico, Deb Slocum, Jen Curry, Leslie Hammer, Denise Honeycutt, Bill Plunkett, PJ Washenko, Ed Heidick. Vicki Capozzi is out ill today, but she's another one of our wonderful staff. We're also fortunate to have a guidance intern a couple of days every week, and that's Lauren Wren, who's here with us today as well. We share her with Bedford Middle School. So you have just met our principal, our assistant principal, you met one of the paras, department chairs and counselors, and just so that you know, we work all together as a team with you and the teachers to give your children the best high school experience possible. We want your children to be comfortable and happy here and to enjoy high school as well as to learn and have a first-rate education. So I know we saw a show of hands before, but just one more time. How many of you have a high school student for the very first time? Okay. And how many of you have a child who's already here or someone who graduated, so an older high school? Okay, great. So for some of you, I bet the question is, if your older high school child is presently here and drives, will they happily and willingly give your younger child a ride to school every morning? I'm sure that's part of the conversation going on now. Anyway, just to continue on, I'd like to give you a little bit of information about the guidance department. The guidance department works on an alphabet system, and the counselor keeps your children all 4 years. The alphabet system keeps our numbers low and smaller and as even as possible, so we can give your children the individual attention that they need and deserve. As counselors, we want to help your students feel comfortable with us so that they know they can come to us for anything. We are really the go-to people for issues or questions about school, classes, teachers, friends, stress, and anything of concern. And sometimes the students even share some happy things with us, which we really do enjoy. We also do a lot of personal as well as academic counseling, and oftentimes we find that both go hand in hand. So just so that you know, starting the beginning of this week, each counselor has been meeting with your children in small groups in our office. And the students are telling us that they're adjusting well and really enjoying Staples. Some have already joined some activities in sports, and soon there will be information for them so that they get some understanding of more about the clubs and the different things that are available to them. But just know that everyone adjusts in their own time. So if your child has some concerns right now or hasn't talked about joining any activities, please don't worry about that. It often takes time, and if you're truly concerned, remember you can always call your child's counselor. So these small group meetings with your children are truly enjoyable for us. In fact, for many of us, it's the bright spot in our day. And if your child attended Bedford or Coley Middle, this is possibly the 3rd time we have already met them. Last year in January, the high school counselors did go to the middle school, and we saw them in their classes. We brought high school students with us, and we answered a lot of their questions. And then in June, the middle school students did come up to the high school, and we met with each one of them and resolved some schedule conflicts, and also talked to them about possibly their questions about high school and what they were looking forward to. So at this point, it's very nice because we are finding that they're very comfortable with us already. If your children did not attend one of the middle schools, please don't worry. We know who they are, we know who the new students are, and we're getting to know them. And also, we have our intern that I just introduced who's happy to help them as well. So this morning, we'll give you information about the freshman year, some of our programs, some of our policies, and other information that we think will be very helpful. Counselors will remain here at the end of the program, so if you have any questions, feel free to see us then. All right, and so we will begin.
Good morning, my name is Leslie Hammer. I have the students who fall at the beginning of the alphabet. We realize that as freshman parents, you may not know all that we as school counselors do here on a day-to-day basis, so I just want to give you a brief overview. On the academic front, we work with your children in choosing their classes. We counsel them to make appropriately challenging course choices, which will allow them to find some balance in their lives. That's the sweet spot where they'll be challenged to learn and to maximize their potential and their future options while still having time in their busy lives to relax, to be teenagers, and to enjoy their high school years. We also help them to access support when needed from their teachers and other resources here in the building, like the learning centers. We're here for them when personal issues arise as well. We see students every day who are struggling with social and emotional issues. Sometimes these are one-off visits around an immediate crisis. Sometimes they're longer-term projects. The beauty of having our students for all 4 years is that we really do get to know them, and they come to trust us that we're here for them. Thankfully, it's still a few years off, but when the time comes, know that the counselors are the go-to people for everything around the college process. As your child progresses through their high school career, we'll step in at developmentally appropriate times to start them in that process. While they're freshmen, our goal for them is to be happily situated and connected to our school. They're laying down roots now, and with that groundwork solidly in place, they will thrive. The college piece will come together naturally at the right time, and when that time comes, it will really be about showing prospective colleges all the wonderful ways in which your child has grown here over their high school career. How to make an appointment. This is really pretty straightforward. Our days are jam-packed. The surest way to find us is to, and make sure that we have time to meet with them, is for the students to make an appointment. They can come into the office. We have appointment books towards the back of the suite, and they can just sign up there. If you would like to meet with us, we suggest that you would call our wonderful guidance secretary, Fran Gerasi, and she can arrange that for us. In the end, though, we always tell our students that if there's a crisis and it really can't wait for them to make an appointment, they should just knock on our door and let us know. We will find a way to see them then. The assistant principal's office, so we work very closely with parents and the assistant principals to support our students. Mr. Missinellia, who you met earlier, is your son or daughter's assistant principal, and he will be with them for the entire 4 years. From an administrative perspective, this is one way of making a big school feel much more personal, since the APs really are able to get to know their classes really well over the years. And also Ms. Hitchcock, who you met earlier too, is the person in the assistant principal's office who monitors attendance. Confidentiality. So confidentiality is a really vital part of the foundation of trust that we seek to establish with our students. And we make an effort to ensure that our students really do understand this. Whatever they share with us is kept private unless we have a real reason to believe that there is a risk of harm to that student or to someone else. This is crucial to the development of the counselor-student relationship, and it's something that we take very, very seriously.
Morning. I'm PJ Washanko. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about ninth grade year in general. So ninth grade year, it's, we see all different types of students ninth grade year. There's some that are just very excited about the high school. They want to hit the ground running and explore every opportunity Stable has to offer. Other ones are more concerned, is there someone that I know much that I can sit with? And those are big things, for ninth graders. And it's important to make sure that we support them along the way. And, they're going to have all different types of problems when they come home. And they're going to hopefully see us with some of these as well, so we can help them along the way. But for ninth grade year, it's a tremendous time for growth. Some take a little bit more time to get to where we'd like to see them. Others, it happens a little more quickly, which is nice. But regardless of where they are, we're here as counselors to support them along the way. We want to help them. We make it very clear when we meet with them that we're here to make high school go as smooth as possible. And there's going to be bumps in the road. And when there are, it's important that they know who the people are that we can talk to during that time. As Elaine said before, we've already started to meet with your ninth graders in small group meetings, and again, it's an opportunity to get to know them in a short period of time. They fill out an information card, which is really nice for us to have to kind of look back to and reference. When we see that, we ask them, words to describe yourself, or it's your favorite food, or your favorite movie, things like that. It's little things that maybe they don't think they should share, but it's nice for us to know because that's, again, their personality. In January, we're also going to have another program that's developed for them called the Do What You Are program that's run through the College and Career Center, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, but it's another structured day where they get to learn more about themselves through surveys that they're going to complete. We always meet with the freshmen in March to develop their schedules for their sophomore year, and we do that for every student in the school. So we sit down, we look at recommendations, and we try to devise a schedule that makes sense for them, that's going to support their needs and their interests, so they're getting the things they need for sophomore year and the years to come as well. And all throughout the year, we're always looking to check in with the freshmen and all the students to make sure, again, they're doing okay. If we haven't seen students in a while, we might just say, hey, how are things? Just want to catch up. Sometimes there's a struggle. There's maybe an issue in a class, or we get a phone call or email from you, and there's some things you're seeing at home that you want us to address. We're going to check in with them as soon as we can to make sure we can address those needs as soon as possible. And to talk about the program that you're going to see a little bit more of now, and you're going to see a lot more of it as you go on, is Family Connection, Naviance. Now this is a web-based program that stores a lot of career information, post-high school planning information. It's going to store your students, some of their academic records, like their GPAs or test scores for SATs when those come in down the line. But it's a great reference to have, when you're thinking about planning for the future. You may not use a lot of it right now, just because it's very early on. Once they do the Do What You Are, it's going to be a great opportunity to actually get onto the program and look at it with them. It's a shared program, so you share the same username and password. It's meant to be used together. With the Do What You Are, it's a personality interest inventory that they're going to answer a bunch of questions in the survey, and based on how they answer these questions, it's going to indicate their strengths, their weaknesses, which they call blind spots in the survey report, And also is going to indicate their personality type. Are they an introvert or are they an extrovert? Are they a thinker or are they a feeler? And some of them may have no idea. You know, they may know what they are, but they don't know what it's called, or they don't know like what it would kind of be helpful to know moving forward, how to prepare for things like this, or how to approach certain situations, being the person that they are. This can kind of help a better picture to the type of person they are and how they can be more successful in high school. This is all stored in Infinite Connection, so it's really helpful to go back to look at. It's interesting to look at as they get older, when they're juniors and seniors, you look back at this report they took freshman year, are they still the same person? And they may not be, and they can maybe take the report again if they like. But the Do What You Are, you see it, this is kind of like the finalized report. It's about 6 or 7 pages. Again, they have a bunch of career interests that list the fields for areas that they indicated that they're interested in, and it offers types of careers that are in there. You click on the career, it tells you what that career entails, the type of education that's needed, the type of pay that it also offers for, median income, high end, low end, by state as well. So there's a lot of information in there. So when that comes out, it's really important to sit down with your students, take a look at it together. Maybe give it some time after they've taken this to let it kind of settle, and then bring it back later on this spring. But a lot of information. It's very useful for future planning. So we have a lot of things in place, so definitely take advantage of them. Thank you.
Sorry. Good morning. Nice to see you all. I'm Denise Honeycutt. And when I look out every year at the 9th graders, I have great parents. I have to say, you look much younger each year I do this. Not sure why. Anyhow, if your son or daughter is having a difficult time in a class or starting to struggle, please don't let it continue. Encourage your son or daughter to talk to the teacher. Our teachers here are terrific, and they offer extra help on a regular basis to all students. Some teachers come in early in the morning. They all stay after school, and sometimes if your student has a free period that coincides with the teacher free period, they can meet up then. So we always encourage extra help with the teachers. You've heard a little bit about the learning centers. Those are great places for kids to go for extra help if need be. They're staffed by a teacher in that field, so it's kind of like free tutoring. And I encourage kids to go there all the time. You as parents also can call teachers and let them know that your kids are having a difficult time in a class. And please feel free to call the counselor and let us know what's going on. We do not want to see anybody struggle. I mean, that's just not worth it. As a last resort, we can...
May I please have your attention? Sophomores in homeroom 2001, please report to room 1028 for your homeroom meeting.
Where was I? Oh, as a last result, we can make a level change. So if your son or daughter is in a level and it's just, going too quickly, or just, they're really struggling, we can have a discussion with the teacher, we can talk to the department chair, we would meet with the student, we would talk to you, and we could make a level change. And that we can do that at any point in time. So please let us know if your son or daughter is struggling. You can log into Schoology from the Staples High School website. This is where teachers post their assignments. So you can go on and see what your sons or daughters are doing regarding their assignments. It also enables teachers to communicate with you and you back to the teachers through emails. So make sure you're connected to that. If you're having a problem or need some assistance, you can contact Jane Alex, and she's your go-to person if you're having an issue. We love Schoology, but we do not want it to replace the old-fashioned assignment pad. We still encourage kids to write down their assignments, so hopefully your sons and daughters are doing that. Home access is very important. Make sure you get into home access. Again, you can log into that from the Staples High School website. You would use the same username and login as you do with Schoology, but this is where you go to see your sons and daughters' grades. Very important because we no longer have IPRs or interim progress reports, and we're pretty much at the halfway point here of the first marking period, so you really want to get on there and see what kinds of grades your sons and daughters are getting. perhaps at this point. It's a live grade book, so as soon as a teacher has a grade, they post it on this site. You'll also log into Home Access to look at report cards. We no longer send report cards out to you. You'll have to go on and see what they are. And also at the end of each semester, you'll get to see your sons and daughters, transcripts. So it becomes more and more and more important as we go forward, because that transcript, as the grades become finalized, you'll see what the updated GPAs are. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tom Brown. Speaking of transcripts, so we got right here. So transcripts that you're going to be getting at the end of the semesters are going to reflect the classes that your students have taken. It will also reflect the final grades at the end of the year. So whatever they're, not each quarter, but the final grade is what's going to show up on there, as well as the credits that they earned for that class. So a half-year class gets half a credit, full-year class gets a full credit. The transcripts are pretty much their academic record, and this is what's used to communicate what they've accomplished and what they've done at the high school level. Important things to note on the transcript are what I just said, that the final grades are what are reported. So if they're having a tough time in the first quarter, they don't necessarily get the best grade that they want, they still have time to make that up before the final grade that's going to end up on the transcript. So work with them and don't get too anxious if it's a little rocky at the start. The other piece is the GPAs, grade point average. This is a number that many people freak out about over and over again throughout high school and beyond. I still remember my GPA from high school, all the things that had to do with it. It was all right. So I do. I'm not going to tell you what it was. In any event, there's two GPAs that are reported on the transcript. One is the overall GPA, and one is the academic GPA. It's okay if you don't remember, ask us. You're probably going to forget, because I can forget too sometimes. But the academic GPA is the core classes, the academic classes, and are weighted. So that means that if they're in an A level, honors level, AP level, it's going to be a different weight on the GPA based on what level they're at. And it's not going to include classes like gym and arts, okay? Now the overall GPA is going to include everything, all the classes that they're in, but it's not weighted. So that's going to be just the flat out grade points. Cool? All right. So what I just said about the GPA, right? Academic, overall, and report cards, as opposed to, which we'll show you next, as opposed to transcripts. The transcript reports cumulative GPA for the entire time, and it also reports each year's GPA, okay? Now the report card...
Excuse me while the TV is warming up. A reminder that PSAT tickets are being sold in the guidance office during lunchtime only. Make the check out to Staples High School. If you order it between the 23rd and 27th of September, it's $50. From the 30th to October 4th, it's $57. After that, it's $65. And the last announcements, the Student Assembly, a club that is responsible for expressing student opinions and collaborative team with teachers, Board of Ed members, and principal, is open for applications. The applications are due this Friday, the 27th, and you should find the applications in your school Gmail. Have a good day.
Thanks, Mr. Doherty. All right. So back to GPAs. So on a report card, which, throw that up, the GPAs that are reported here are going to be the overall unweighted GPA for each quarter. So they're not going to be added up throughout. So the second quarter will be just the second quarter, third quarter just the third quarter. And then the cumulative GPAs will show up on the transcript at the end of the year. Why that's important is because when we assign honors, the second honors is going to be based off the quarterly GPAs. And then the report card also has the grades and midterms and so forth. So thank you very much.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Curry, and just as Tom mentioned, midterm exams. So that is part of the student's final grade. And at the end of each semester, so typically mid-January or early June, there's going to be a final exam or a midterm exam in every single class that your student's enrolled in. Teachers will provide more information regarding the scope of the exam and what type of exam that will be as it gets closer to that time. It is important to know that students will need to prepare more and start earlier than they would for a typical regular exam. So that is something to keep in mind as January comes around. The good news is the library typically does have extended hours, so if your student does need another place to go to kind of study, that's a place they can use. And as mentioned on the slides, the weather will almost always affect this midterm exam schedule, so kind of keep up to date on that as it gets closer to that with either snow days or delays because of weather. In terms of your students' graduation progress and how that's going to look, to graduate from Staples, the students are required to hit 25 credits as a minimum. And the breakdown per discipline is listed on here. In terms of what a student will actually accomplish, we all know that their interests and strengths vary, so the total that they'll have in each different discipline will vary from student to student based on what they want to take during their 4 years here. In terms of some disciplines, it is broken down even further, and we note that on here as well, so the students would follow that. And Mr. Washenko did mention that we meet with the students one-on-one in March to go over their schedule for the next year. And part of that discussion is looking at their progress towards graduation to make sure that they are taking the things that they need to do. So when the time comes in 4 years, they're all set with what they need. In terms of how we do that, this is a checklist that the counselors use because it is part of our job to be keeping track of what your students are doing. But we also provide this to students and parents as well so that you can keep track if you would like to. In the course catalog booklet that your students got last year that you picked up at some point is the last page in that booklet. That course catalog is also online, so you can also get that page from online. The nice thing about this is if you have a student who likes to plan, they can certainly use this to kind of look at an overall, or if perhaps your student just likes a better visual representation of what their couple of years might be, this is a great way to use that.
Hi, I'm Ed Heidick, and I get to talk about the student handbook. Your son or daughter recently received one, and there is a copy online which I highly recommend that you look at and read on a daily basis. Why? Let's see, this week's key word for our students is perception. Your perception of a situation determines your attitude, positive or negative. Worth contemplating. What matters most? Do you view difficulties as problems or challenges? Which perception you have is going to move you forward. These are interesting little things for our 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders, not to mention parents, ponder. Besides that, let's see, in the back of the handbook, how many of you are going to help your son or daughter in math homework? You might have forgotten the Pythagorean theorem. Well, it's right here. I recently read that the overwhelming majority of people in our country do not know the first 4 presidents of the United States. It's in the handbook. Ms. Honeycutt talked about the old-fashioned way, recording assignments. Plenty of space in the handbook to write down today's assignment. This book, in all honesty, as much as I play with it, is a fantastic source for your son or daughter as well as for you. Every single item that's been mentioned, attendance, GPA, it's all in the handbook. Academic integrity. Where are you going to find the rules of the game when it comes to our teachers and their insistence on there being academic integrity? What happens if there's a violation to academic integrity? Which is a serious thing here, and it does happen in our high school as it happens everywhere else. The C word, cheating, is out there. And we at Staples deal with it in a sincere and serious matter, in a serious way. The rules, where are you going to find it? In the handbook. The attendance policy, who do I call? Well, you just met Miss Hitchcock, but you might forget the main number. Where are you going to find it? It's right here in the handbook. And the attendance policy, 20 absences, there's a loss of credit. Well, my son or daughter got mono, and they were out 16 times, and we got a tutor, this, that, and the other, and then she had a cold and missed more than 20 times. Is she going to lose credit for English? Well, there are certain issues, certain items that determine what kind of absence is considered excused versus unexcused. If your son or daughter has legitimate reasons for being out, heaven forbid, serious illness, things of that nature, we are not going to take credit away from your son or daughter. The attendance policy has teeth for those students that do not get to class with the intention that class is for. Tardiness, being late, those are the kinds of things that you may have to chat with your son or daughter about, because those do add up and they are considered unexcused. Oftentimes our freshmen will miss or come late to classes because they chit-chat in the halls. You will then get notified, one way or the other, of absences accumulating because of tardiness or lateness. And that's where your dinner time conversation needs to focus on there being penalties for such behavior. And of course, it's all in the handbook. And though Billy says I age myself when I bring up one of my favorite movies, many of you might have seen it. Many of you might have seen it. When the caretaker in the afterlife meets the recently departed in the movie Beetlejuice, and they have questions about which way they're going. He says, it's all in the handbook.
All right, Ed got so excited about talking about Beetlejuice, he forgot his last slide, which is named after him. ConnectEd is the notification system. The automated phone calls and emails that will come to you if your son or daughter has missed a class, also the notifications if school is delayed or closed for the day or various other occasions. Okay. The question that we answer a lot in our office, for parents in particular, because the kids pick this up pretty quickly, is about how our schedule works. So the Staples High School schedule rotates daily so that the same period doesn't meet at the same time every day, right? Very different from how it was when I was in high school. It was 1 through 7 and that was it every single day. And yes, sometimes period 1 does happen to be the very last period of the day. The rationale behind this long-standing practice is so that every teacher doesn't have the kids at the same time each day. Even for the most experienced teachers, it poses a challenge to be trying to teach Shakespeare at 7:30 in the morning, or right after lunch, or at the very end of the day on a beautiful day when they'd all much rather be outside sunning themselves in the courtyard. After many years at Staples High School, I still have to look at this grid to figure out what period it is at any given time of day. Rest assured, your children master this rotation far easier than we do. If I were to stop a student in the hallway at 10:20 in the morning on a Thursday and ask them what period of the day it is, they would tell me without even breaking a sweat, oh, Miss Tallarico, it's period 4. And yes, there is an app for that. Okay, so now most of them are gonna whip out their phone and click the My Staples app and it'll tell them. It'll tell them what period of the day it is. One question we also get asked frequently in the guidance office is, can my child have a free period every year and still graduate on time? The answer is yes. It is possible to have a free period every year and graduate on time. It's normal and healthy for your sons and daughters to have some time to socialize during the school day. However, there are other valuable uses of the unscheduled time, and many of them are listed on the slide in front of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Plunkett. So we talked a lot about the 9th grade year, but I just want to provide a quick snapshot of what occurs in the following 3 years. So I'm not going to get into each specific program that we offer, just want to highlight that our program is a developmentally appropriate guidance curriculum. What this means is that it's in close alignment with state and national counseling standards and in coordination with what our peer schools do. It's intentionally designed to meet students where they are in their development as young people, academically and emotionally. It's a balance between challenging them to move forward and supporting who they simply are at this point in their lives. Every student will continue to meet with his or her counselor, both individually and small groups, each year that they're here at Staples, and most students will wind up meeting with us for far more times than that. Students also participate in a grade level specific program through the College and Career Center each year that they're here. And we offer a parent program at the end of sophomore year, one midway through junior year, and one early on in senior year. Each of these is geared towards providing information about the post-high school planning process. Post-high school planning is really embedded in everything that we do with your kids, starting with mapping out their courses and talking with them about ideas for careers and future education throughout their time here. But junior year is really when things get going as they take the PSAT in October and eventually the SAT and ACT and begin their college search later that year. For those who decide that college isn't for them, and we have a lot of those students, we're in very close contact to make sure that they have the skills and resources to make informed decisions about their plans moving forward. Senior year and college and all that will come fast enough. We're mindful of the deadlines. We don't let kids fall behind where they should be. So although it's important to keep in mind an idea of what's on the way, we really try and make an intentional effort to enjoy and not lose sight of this special time that we have for years.
Hi, I'm Deb Slocum. I'm one of the counselors here at Staples as well. Just want to talk about the Club and Activities Fair that's going to be held October 7th through the 11th. A wonderful opportunity for students who haven't yet found something at Staples that grabs them. They really can't avoid it because it's held in the lobby and near the cafeteria and with lots of opportunities there. We like to finish all of our presentations with a few of our special tidbits for parents. So you're going to hear me because we speak from, as Billy said so beautifully, the social emotional development side of things as well as college preparation. So Staples High School, I want to remind you, is Staples High School. It is not titled Staples Pre-College. And believe me, they are well aware as we meet with your freshmen of how important these years are. Westport and its parents have done an excellent job of ensuring that students understand the importance of a good education. However, I'll go out on a limb and say that as a generation of parents, we have lost sight of the important social emotional development that occurs during this years. The reality is that every child in this high school will make a mistake at some point. If there's an adult in here who did not make a single mistake in high school, I would like to have a chat with him or her afterwards and find out what their college career was like. So this is good news for each one of you, although it won't feel that way at that critical moment. Your response to your child's mistakes, because there'll be more than one, is critical. If your response in a crisis tends to be that you freak out, then be aware ahead of time that you're the kind of person that will need to take a few moments to take a deep breath and think carefully about the message you want to send your child. We'd like you to keep the following in mind, please. Number one, self-esteem is built not on a running commentary how wonderful they are and how many trophies they've attained. It's built on surviving and walking through tough situations in life. Number two, resilience, or the complete lack of it in this generation, is a hot topic right now. And you'll see the handouts that we put together for you. Please send the message that number one, we expect them to take responsibility for their behavior, and that means avoid the natural tendency to blame every adult within the area. Number two, expectation is that they will make restitution or apologize if necessary. And number three, review with them what they might do differently next time. And then finally, let them move on. I'm sorry, that was not the last finally. Finally, give him or her a big hug and reassure your child that they are loved no matter what mistakes they make. In short, developmentally, freshmen cannot see the big picture of life. That's your job. We'd like you to encourage flexibility and problem solving. As has been reiterated several times, the adults in his or her life here at Staples can be an enormous help to your child. Freshmen, one of the lessons freshmen need to learn is how to use them. Number four, I give you permission to set limits on social media. Many students simply do not know how to turn off the phone and social media sites. even for short periods of time. So no, guys, I have news for you. They're not spending 4 hours on their homework and doing nothing else at the same time. That's not what's happening. They have a little thing in the corner clicking on all the time. Our students are often suffering from what is called now, and it's going to be in the DSM-6, I bet, FOMA, fear of missing out. Each one of them needs to learn the importance of single tasking. So collaborate with them on limits so that they can get enough sleep and get their work done in an efficient manner. And lastly, don't personalize their moods. Most of the time, their grumpiness first thing in the morning or immediately after school has absolutely nothing to do with you. So finally, please remember that childhood is the preparation, not the performance. Thank you.
We have our guidance website so that there's lots of information on that. I want you to be aware of that. We also have a student who was so wonderful in giving you information as you were walking in, and she'd like to talk to you a little bit about her experience here at Staples High School.
Hi, good morning. My name is Emma Moskovitz. I'm a senior here. It's nice to see some familiar faces in the crowd. I actually have a brother who's a freshman, so if your son or daughter is anything like my brother, I can imagine that the last couple nights have been kind of stressful in your house. And transitioning to high school is a big deal. It's a big change from middle school. And not only are there the little things you have to remember, like how lab lunch works or where in the world your health class is, but you also start to become aware of the bigger things, like a GPA or a transcript or college. And while these things are important, it's even more important to remember that they're a long way away still, and that a lot changes over these 4 years. Going into high school, I wanted to be a writer. It's all I ever dreamed about. In my elementary school yearbook, I wrote that I wanted to be a food and travel critic and live in Italy, so true. And now that I'm applying to college, I'm actually looking at schools that offer undergraduate physics research programs. So a lot changes. And even more important than grades is finding something that you really love to do. Whether it's being in a school play or being on a team or joining a new club or taking a class that you thought you had no previous interest in. These things are they're great opportunities that are offered at Staples, and I would encourage your children to take advantage of them. I never thought I would take, let alone love physics, and yet last summer I was commuting into the city for 5 days during the heat wave in July to take a college physics class for fun. So, people at Staples are involved in everything and really love what they're doing. If your child is struggling, or even if they're not, I would tell them to conference with teachers. It is so rewarding to make a personal connection with the teacher. They love to help you, or even just talking about something you found really interesting. I remember I went to my English teacher, and I loved this book that we were reading. It was a Steinbeck book. And I just sat in her office for my entire free period and just talked to her about it, and it was terrific. So that is really important. And high school is really important, but it's also a lot of fun. It's a time of growth and a time of self-discovery. And while freshman year might seem crazy and overwhelming sometimes, it's important to remember that everyone is feeling the same way. Freshman year is a transition and a big change. And 4 years from now, when your student is standing where I am and looking back and looking at how much they've achieved and how much they've succeeded in all of their personal and academic growth, they will wish, like I do, that they could go back and tell their freshman selves that it's going to be okay. Because believe me, it will be. Thank you.
Great job, and it's really, hearing it straight from a student, it's just the truth. So thank you so much. That was great. Another round of applause for Emma. So that quote we have up here, the guidance department has really taken on this whole philosophy of resilience, and we're trying very hard to infuse it in everything we do and get that message out to students and parents and faculty and everybody we can, because we think that that's such a big part of life, and if we can help somebody get through some of the stumbles and some of the things that block them and come out on the other side of it and move forward. We know that that's the most important thing you can probably learn through high school. So that's part of what we're doing. And you have a yellow sheet, a couple of sheets that are with your packet. Please read that article and that information about resilience, because we feel that that is so important. So just to conclude, we look forward to working with you and your children. Please enjoy the next 4 years. They go so fast, like in a blink of an eye, your child will be a senior, and it's amazing how quickly that goes. So this is the beginning of a long and wonderful relationship and partnership that we're going to have together. We're here to help. Please feel free to call us anytime you need us. And we are going to be here at the end of this program, so if you'd like to come up and speak to any one of us, please feel free. Thank you so much for coming today. And remember, evaluations, if you could fill them out and either put them on the table or give them to one of us, that would be awesome. Thank you.